Greetings, Star Warrior.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Today we are going to be discussing J.J. Abrams. I really don't see why so many people swear by this guy and put faith in this guy. I mean, well, I'll get into it, but first I want to discuss the headline that I am currently looking at. And I don't know if it's true because I have not gone over this article. I hope it's not true because if it is true, then he quite possibly has said the dumbest thing I've heard since Rian Johnson took to Twitter. This is the headline. J.J. Abrams. Star Wars fans who didn't like Last Jedi are threatened by women characters. Exclusive. Yikes. Yeah, does anyone notice how George Lucas doesn't make stupid statements like this? And I guess he wouldn't, considering he's the one that had the dialogue, the Obi-Wan dialogue in Revenge of the Sith. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Basically, J.J. Abrams just made the most bigoted statement I've heard since The Last Jedi came out. That's if he actually said that in this interview, and if the person who wrote the headline didn't just make that up. But let's see, let's get into reading this real quick. As he prepares to re-enter the Star Wars universe with his upcoming and still untitled Episode 9, Force Awakens filmmaker J.J. Abrams is unbothered by the recent backlash to the diversity of Star Wars. As far as I know, there is no backlash to the diversity of Star Wars. On my channel, I haven't said anything about the diversity of Star Wars. I haven't watched any channels where they're complaining about the diversity in Star Wars. So, right off the bat, the opening statements in this article are addressing pretty much a non-issue. And if it is an issue, then it's an issue with somewhere around 2 people. And they're basically wasting our time. But let's see. Asked by IndieWire about pushback from Star Wars fans who decried Rian Johnson's film for its focus on more female-centric stories. I see what's going on here. So they're basically trying to paint us into a corner that doesn't represent us. That's basically what this is. Abrams was clear. Their problem isn't Star Wars. Their problem is being threatened. I've uploaded damn near 80 videos in the last 2 months, and I've mentioned Rey's name probably less than 20 times. Probably far less than that. I don't really discuss Rey or Finn because I don't have to. I can dismantle this movie by discussing all the just ridiculous crap Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy did. I have no problem with women being the focus of this story. I never did. And in fact, I've watched plenty of videos by feminist women who hate the movie. Okay, there's Rebecca Geeky Girl who hates the freaking movie. She's a self-proclaimed feminist. There's Jessie Milestone over there at Mindless Entertainment. She's a feminist. She hates The Last Jedi. Am I supposed to believe that Rebecca and Jessie are somehow threatened by women? And then there's all the other women out there who maybe don't identify as feminists because they don't see a need to identify as feminists. Am I supposed to believe that just because they don't like The Last Jedi, they're somehow threatened by strong women and that they don't consider themselves to be strong women? So I think we can all just agree that J.J. Abrams is not a serious person. He's a silly person who no one should be putting their faith into. I mean, I can't even get through this article. It's just so ridiculous. I don't think I should waste my time or your time getting through this article. I mean, I know there's videos out there of people who think that JJ was taken out of context and that he was actually only addressing the backlash from actual racists and the backlash from actual misogynists. But here's the thing. The answer to that question is obvious. Hollywood never caters to actual racists in their movies. They might do it behind the scenes, but not in their movies. They never cater to actual misogynists in their movies. They might do it behind the scenes, but not in the actual film. They never need to discuss whether or not they're going to cater to misogynists and racists. So the fact that J.J. Abrams would even consider addressing a question about catering to actual misogynists and racists gives that question legitimacy. they're going to use that question to reflect on everyone that would hate on The Last Jedi, and he knows that. So no, I'm not in the least bit going to entertain the idea that maybe he was taken out of context. JJ knows the only backlash worth discussing is the backlash coming from people of all races and genders. I see no reason to give legitimacy to this kind of bullshit. It takes a second to debunk everything these guys say. A simple second. I mean, I never watched a single episode of Lost. You know, the first time I heard of J.J. Abrams was when he was going to direct the Star Trek movies. And I watched them. And I didn't hate them, but I wasn't impressed. It was like ho-hum, you know? And then, for some reason, I was supposed to get all uppity about him being called on to direct Star Wars for some reason. I'm like, he may not ruin it. I hear he's more of a Star Wars fan than a Star Trek fan, so he may do better. But I don't see any talent in him that I'm supposed to go crazy about. And then when I watched the movie, it wasn't the feminism in it that pissed me off. Although, now that I look back at it, that's kind of... his representation of feminism is really bad. But it was the complete and utter bullshit that he pulled with the Hosnian system that pissed me off. And that really clued me into the fact that this guy is not a serious person. He's not someone I can take seriously. Finn, Han, and all of them are on the planet with Maz Kanata. And the First Order blows up the Hosnian system. I mean, the logistics alone are just so ridiculous. The entire idea. Starkiller Base would have had to have fired those blasts of energy into hyperspace for them to reach the Hosnian system in the amount of time that they did. That's the only way they could have gotten those... They could have destroyed the Hosnian system that fast. I mean, they couldn't have done it at the speed of light. It would have to have been way faster than the speed of light. Finn looks up into the sky in broad daylight and sees it happen. But if the lasers are moving through hyperspace, how is he watching them? And let's not forget, he wasn't in the Hosnian system. I mean, you can't explain that. You can't explain that away. Let me ask you guys something. Have you ever been outside and you looked up into the sky in broad daylight and saw a planet blow up, or I'm sorry, a star blow up at all? Have you ever seen that? I mean, if you could see a planet in another star system blow up, you could definitely see a star blow up, right? There are billions of them in the Milky Way. They must be exploding all the time. The closest star to the Sun is Alpha Centauri. It's just over 4 light years away. If tomorrow Alpha Centauri was to explode, you wouldn't be able to tell. It would be 4 years before you could go outside with your naked eye and tell that anything had happened to Alpha Centauri at all. Or even better, Pluto. If I was to take a big laser, a huge laser, and shoot it off in my yard at Pluto, and completely destroy Pluto, you'd never see what happened to Pluto. You'd never be able to go outside, look up into the sky, and see what happened to Pluto. A fiery apocalypse wouldn't paint the sky in broad daylight. I mean, the real kicker is that none of that had to be visible to Han, Maz, and Finn, or any of them. Why was it so important that they had to witness what happened to the Hosnian system? All he had to do was show the First Order destroy the Hosnian system, and then show up, jump out of hyperspace into whatever system it was that Maz Kanata's planet was in. No one on Yavin 4 saw the destruction of Alderaan. They had to hear about it. But supposedly J.J. Abrams is the guy that people think can put Star Wars back on the right track. He ain't going to do it, people. He's not going to do it. You cannot put this back on the right track. Rey already beat the villain of this trilogy on her first try in the first movie. J.J. Abrams is the one that had that happen. And that's what this article is all about. He knows he can't fix it. He's not going to try and fix it. This is a guy who started the entire resurgence of Star Wars cinema by copying a movie almost scene for scene. How's he going to fix it? Do you think he's going to put more work into Episode 9 than he did into Episode 7? J.J. Abrams is not a genius filmmaker. as far as I'm concerned, he's pretty much a clown who gets to play around with millions of dollars. Okay, so I found the perfect quote that illustrates just how big a false messiah J.J. Abrams is. Here's a quote from him. Asked if fan outcry would at all impact his vision of the upcoming film, Abrams was clear. Not in the least, he said, adding, "There's a lot that I would like to say about it, but I feel like it's a little early to be having Episode 9 conversation. I will say that the story of Rey, Poe, and Finn and Kylo Ren, and if you look, there are 3 men and 1 woman, to those that are complaining that there are too many women in Star Wars, their story continues in a way that I couldn't be more excited about and cannot wait for people to see." I've never heard anyone say there were too many women in Star Wars. I know he's never heard anyone say there's too many women in Star Wars. He's a fucking idiot to think that people will actually fall for that explanation. I guess some people will fall for that explanation, but those are people who don't have a problem with the direction that Star Wars has taken to begin with. So they're already inclined to listen to every word this idiot says. I mean, think of it this way. This is going to, basically shine a light on the total bullshit that is everything that J.J. Abrams has been saying about this stuff. If J.J. Abrams really believed any of this crap, he would step aside and let a woman direct Episode 9. I mean, they're obviously better suited to do so, and he's already directed one. In fact, he should obviously step aside and let a woman do it now. And if he doesn't, then obviously he's afraid of strong females. Let them get the credit for the next Star Wars movie. Let them get the money. Let them get the notoriety. Let them have something, JJ. Why are you standing in the way? Why did you accept this job when you were so clearly not the most qualified person? And it is not your time to do so. When Kathleen Kennedy called you up to take Colin Trevorrow's place, right off it should have popped in your head, no, hire a woman to do it. Clearly you were too bigoted to think that way. Kathleen Kennedy was too bigoted to think that way. Disney, too bigoted to think that way. If we're going to play this game of absolutes that you've started, anyone who believes that J.J. Abrams should direct Episode 9 is clearly a bigot and afraid of women. Now the ball's in your court. I invite my audience to come up with hashtags about this, Hashtag J.J. Abrams misogynist, hashtag Disney misogynist, hashtag Kathleen Kennedy misogynist. Come up with hashtags, I'll start using them in my social media, and maybe we can get a certain ball rolling. I'm all for fighting back when these guys are coming out with such bullshit that they're trying to cast us in a terrible light. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this video across the galaxy, and check out the Patreon link in the description box below. And as always, if you're listening, you are the new rebel. 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 You are the new